Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi.
Did everyone have a great time today?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I had a good time, and I came a long way to be here. Does anyone know where I came from?
Jerusalem.
I came a little bit further than Pierpont. I
Say
came
it louder.
all the way from the other side of the world in the east. Wait a second, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Belshazzar. Are there any other Belshazzars here? Is that a popular name in this part of the world? You? Named for your father? Okay, Belshazzar is junior over there. So I came all the way from the other side of the world in the east. And I'm one of the wise men that got to meet Jesus. You might have read about me in the Bible. Well, I came all the way here so I could tell you this story, because one night I was out looking out at the night sky, and the other wise men and I were looking up and we saw the stars, and we saw the strangest thing. One of the stars, it was moving. We all talked about it. It was moving. It was moving very slowly in the night sky. And you might have thought it was an airplane, but we didn't have airplanes 2,000 years ago, and so we saw that star. It was definitely moving. And so we decided we would follow it to see where it was going. Now, we were excited about the star not just because I had never seen anything like it before, but because there was an old prophecy about a star that would take us somewhere very special. Does anyone know what a prophecy is? Well, a long, long time ago, even before the whole Bible was written, God would talk to men called prophets, and he would tell them a message and tell them to spread it to everyone and go and tell everyone God's message. And they would even write it down in the Bible so people could look at it and look at it again. And even today, if you want to, you can look back at it. And we remembered a prophecy. And that prophecy was from a long time ago. And God told a man named Balaam that a star would guide us to the king of the whole world. And we saw the star moving. We remembered another prophecy that said that the king of the whole world would be born in Bethlehem. And do you know where that star was heading? It was moving right toward Bethlehem. So we dropped everything that we were doing. We packed up our camels and we started out on the journey. And it was a long journey, and we went and we went. And you know where the star took us? Any guesses? Not Bethlehem. It took us to Jerusalem. We thought it was going to take us to Bethlehem, but it was a bigger city. And it was a very special city. As we went and we saw the great temple of God that people would flock to, and they would go to worship him there. And we looked all around the city for the child that would be born King of the Jews. And we went and we asked if someone would lead us to the King of the Jews. And they took us into another temple. It wasn't a temple, really. It was more of a palace for a man. But as we approached, it looked about the same. And we came in, and there was a man standing there. We said, excuse us, you don't look like a little baby boy. And he said, of course I don't look like a little baby boy. I'm Herod, King of the Jews. We said, well, we were told that the King of the Jews were here, but he was just born a while ago. He must be a little baby. And when we told him that, he was angry. Because Herod was king of the Jews in one sense. He was king over the area, but he was not a good king. He liked to push people around. He was very mean. He really didn't like the idea that a tiny little boy might take his place. And so when he heard that we were looking for the King of the Jews, he called up all the Jewish people, he called up all the scribes and the priests, and he asked them to look through the Bible and to see where the King of the Jews was to be born. And they looked through the Bible and they found that same prophecy that said that he would be born in the little town of Bethlehem. And when Herod found that out, he called us in close, and he kicked everyone else out. He brought us in. And he said, now, where you need to go, just a little bit out of here, a little town called Bethlehem. And when you get there, I want you to find this little baby, and you tell me where he is so that I can worship him. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to worship this little baby. I didn't like the way he sounded, but we went ahead and left anyway. And when we got down to Bethlehem, it was just a small town, and we got there and we found Mary, Jesus' mother, and she was just holding this little child. And when we saw Mary and the child there, we all fell to our knees and we worshiped the child there. And I know it sounds like such a strange thing that just a small child that we would worship or see as a king. None of us were Jewish, and he was king of the Jews, but he was still our king because he's the king of the whole world. And as we were there worshiping this child, we continued to worship him by giving him gifts. And we gave him 3 very important gifts. Does anyone know what gifts that we gave him? Anyone know? Myrrh, gold, and frankincense. That's right, we gave him gold and frankincense and myrrh. Now, are any of you kids here hoping to get some Christmas gifts? A couple? Are any of you hoping to get gold as your Christmas gift? Some of the wives I see are hoping to get gold as a Christmas gift. Well, it's a very expensive gift to give, and back in my day, we only ever gave it to kings or God. And so we gave it to this child because he was our king and he is God. So we gave Jesus gold. Now, is anyone expecting to get frankincense for Christmas? Does anyone know what frankincense is? Well, it's a type of perfume. It was a special kind of perfume that the priests used to use in that big temple that we saw when we went into Jerusalem. And they would bring that in with other things, and it was there in the temple so that God would have something nice to smell. And so we gave frankincense to Jesus because he was God. But not only that, we gave it to him because he was also like a priest, the same people that would have used it. Because you used to go to a priest and he would help you to worship God and to learn about him. And as Jesus grew, he taught other people how to worship God and how to love him. So we gave him frankincense. Now those first two gifts were happy gifts, but the third gift was not. The third gift was myrrh. And we use myrrh to put on people when they die. And we knew that Christmas was a happy time and Jesus came into the earth, and it was wonderful that our King was here and we could worship him. And Jesus grew up and he taught other people how to love God and how they could be saved. But not everyone liked that. And after he grew and taught people when he was a grown-up, some bad people came and killed him. And that was a very, very sad day. And that's what we put on him when he died. But it didn't stay sad for long, because after he died, only 3 days later, God brought him back from the dead so that he could be our king forever, and that he could live forever, and that if we follow him, we can live forever too. And so that third gift was finally a happy one, because Jesus has come to earth to be our king and our God, and if we follow him, we can live forever. And even though that was 2,000 years ago when we came to worship him the first time, 2,000 years ago when he came to be our king, he's still king today. And every Sunday, people all around, even here on the other side of the world, get together to worship him as our God and as our king. Does anyone here get together to worship Jesus as their king? Anyone? And so if anyone here would like to, all these people would welcome you into their church so that you could come and worship Jesus as your king too. So this Christmas, when you're giving presents and receiving presents, remember that it all started because we gave Jesus those 3 presents. And as special as those 3 presents were, they were nothing compared to the present that God gave us on Christmas. That God sent Jesus to be our king, and that we got to be the first ones to worship him there. So this Christmas, as you're giving presents and receiving presents, remember that Jesus is the best Christmas present of all, so that we can all worship him as our king and our God. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.